Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Thursday evening. Boy, was I not expecting that score on Thursday Night Football. Maybe the Eagles are just a little mid. I don't know. That offense does not look very good, very well put together at all. So very interesting to see how that game ends up being in December. So maybe it's maybe a little bit more winnable than we might have thought heading into the season. But then again, we have some things that are very concerning to talk about for the Los Angeles Chargers tonight, previewing the Week 6 game against the Miami Dolphins. And joining me to do that, as always, is my good friend Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
That game is as winnable as the last two games that the Chargers lost. So we'll see how that one ends up going. I'm still terrified. They don't have Jalen Carter tonight, of course. Turns out Milton Williams was a big part of their defense. It was a very important player for them. And it wasn't just that the players around him made him good. He's just pretty good. And the Patriots are benefiting from him. Panthers half signed him for 1 second there.
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport tweeted that, and then suddenly he switched over. But Anyway, I'm doing well. And I feel 0.5% better about that game against the Giants.
I don't. That is still a game that the Chargers will look back on at the end of the season and be like, man, how the heck did we allow that to happen? Obviously, the offense was going to have some issues that day that I think maybe I overlooked, but that defensive performance against the simplest offensive game plan in history, I think will drive Jesse Minter up a wall for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still didn't give up what might be somewhere between 37 and 41 points in a second here.
True.
True.
That is very true. Yeah, no Quinyon Mitchell for the Eagles tonight also. That is
true. True.
Okay, before we get started, of course, I have to tell you about our friends over at PrizePicks, the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. This is obviously a fun outlet for us. We've done some emotional hedging with PrizePicks. The Chargers numbers are a little sad right now, but hopefully you can kind of get on the action for the rest of the league. If you were a Cam Scadaboo, believer tonight, hopefully tonight has been a kind ticket for you. So PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdown? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup that they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Both of those things are brand new features over on PrizePicks, which is something that I love. They're always tinkering with things. They're always adding new features. So it is truly a great app, a great way to get some extra skin in the game. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, let's jump in. Dolphins week, a surprisingly early must-win game, I think is very accurate this week. The Chargers have these next 4 games that are much more difficult because of the injuries, which we'll get into here in a second. So this game, if the Chargers lose, they're staring down a 4-game losing streak. I have a very hard time picking this team to beat the Colts next week. So this is a super, super important game to stay, 1 game up on the Broncos, 2 games up on the Chiefs, etc. Must win in October is not where I thought we would be, but here we are.
No, not at all. And obviously, even a couple of weeks ago, a must-win game at 3-0 against a terrible Dolphins team. Why would this even be a must-win? But, obviously, they lose this game, they go to 3-3. It's not that this takes them out of contention, but it just tells me that whether it's coaching or injuries or some combination of penalties, whatever, they are not here to contend this year. They just are out of it as things currently stand right now. And the Colts, crazy enough, they are a buzzsaw on offense somehow.
Yep.
The Vikings, TBD on Wentz and all these guys, and who's even playing that game. O'Connell still got those guys winning and playing well on offense. And you have Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Philly, again, I don't know, but you lose to the Dolphins, you kind of telling me your season's over. Again, does it tank their season? No, but that's basically the easiest game until Tennessee. And then you have a string of games. Well, the Raiders. And then it's just the tough part of the season. So if you can't win the easy game at this point, or the easier game, forget it. Back up the season.
Yeah, I think last season we saw the Chargers come out and be so well coached against teams that they were better than, that these other the teams last year who were worse than them just had no chance. Whether it was the Saints or the Titans or whoever, like even if there was moments where the score was tight, we never really felt like, hey man, this game's in danger today. And then you lose to the Giants, and if you lose to the Dolphins, that's two, in my opinion, bad teams that you should be beating, despite the injuries and everything like that, at least on paper. So we'll get into everything here, but this Chargers team, they have to win on Sunday morning in Miami. Relatively hot. It's not crazy hot, but it's going to be relatively hot in Miami that the Chargers team are not necessarily used to. Another East Coast trip after the last East Coast trip did not go super well. So this is a sneaky important game for the Chargers, where a lot of media members, when they're talking about this, they're just like, man, the Chargers or the Dolphins are really bad. The Chargers are going to win this week. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Just like automatically penciling a W feels a little off here.
Yeah, no, I've seen this movie before at this point. I'm not even calling this one a trap game. I don't even care what you guys want to call it and whether you disagree or agree with our definition. It's a game they got to win. So please go win that game. Please start better and finish better, than the, at New York Giants 10 a.m. game. I don't know, man. I know like at Miami used to be such a curse for this Chargers team. Still could be. But it was a really rough spot to play before. I think it was the Shane Steichen year where Keenan Allen's like, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing on offense. I have no idea what we're doing.
Brian Flores,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. So, hopefully it's not one of those, because Miami can be a bit of a curse.
Yeah, hopefully not. All right, so let's do a check-in with the Miami Dolphins. How's their season going? Not great is accurate. The good news for the Dolphins, they signed Rasul Douglas late in the offseason, and he's been their highest graded defender.
Yeah.
I guess that could be some bad news potentially also. The two Phillips on the defensive line are both playing pretty well, although Jordan Phillips has certainly had some rookie defensive tackle struggles. He does lead all rookies in run stops with 7. Jamari Caldwell has 3 for what it's worth. Jalen Phillips is still pretty solid at 16 pressures and 22nd in pass rush win rate. Although it's funny, Bradley Chubb, his per play stats and win stats are not super good, but he has all of the sacks, and Phillips has the per play stats and the win rate and not the sacks. So something to keep in mind, I guess, going forward. Devon Achane, 3rd in receiving yards on the team and 15th in all-purpose yards. So it's pretty good for him. And he is actually their leading target getter in this one. Their center, Aaron Brewer, is probably their best offensive player now, tied for 4th in pass blocking efficiency rating. Keon Smith, couldn't tell you who that is, honestly, tied for 13 with Mekhi Becton. And I guess Darren Waller is the thing now, which is very interesting. But, that feels like some Frank Smith voodoo magic a little bit to me.
Yeah, possibly. This was a painful list to put together. I'm trying to paint, here are the players and here's how they're doing. We'll get to the bad. I was looking for any kind of stand-up player, like the Giants. Okay, defensive line. The Commanders. I know he's returning from injury, but Jaden Daniels. Yeah, the interior defensive lineman. The Dolphins, there really isn't much in terms of overall team stuff and individual stuff. Everybody's just meh. But I guess that's how you get to be a one-win team.
Yeah, and a team who they were semi-competitive against the Bills, and everybody was like, "Wow, they're not quitting." And it's like, well, they're professionals. Like, what do you expect?
Right, like the 3rd game of the season, they're still trying to win.
Yeah, the press conferences for Mike McDaniel, man, they're not good right now. The vibes are not good in Miami. And they've been bad all offseason, so it's not really a huge surprise. The offense is easily the worst under Mike McDaniel, 18th in EPA per play. I want to say they're like 19th in success rate, which they've been sometimes a little lower in EPA per play, but they've always been pretty successful in that regard. So that is also pretty low. The defense, which was probably the worst defensive roster heading into the season, is playing like it. 31st in EPA per play. Tyreek Hill just had his leg exploded. I don't really like he dislocated his kneecap and tore his meniscus and MCL. It's crazy. The team is 1-4 with losses to the Ravens, Browns, Titans, and Raiders. They're 8th worst in net points. And then there's already rumblings of firings by the end of the season. Even after the season opener, Ian Rappaport was like, they're going to be patient with Mike McDaniel. And I'm like, that's not a good thing, man. That we're already being patient with the head coach talk is pretty crazy.
Yeah, there's that. There's an article every week now. It seems like it comes out. Are they going to fire him mid-season? And someone's got to say, no, they're going to be patient. Or source says they're going to be patient. I don't know, man. The vibes have been terrible. Even with Brandon Staley's last year, yes, the first 2 weeks were terrible. They kind of strung some stuff together. You thought maybe this one just feels like from the jump, this was over. And again, goes back. We'll talk about coaching, of course, but like you got to have the coaching advantage here. They practically feel like they're trying to find. They're just waiting and biding time until a firing. And if you can't have the coaching advantage over that, you got problems.
Yeah, this is a game where the Chargers coaching staff should have a significant advantage. One little thing that I think is just like nerdy and interesting. A lot of these former Ravens coaches, Jesse Minter, Mike McDonald, Denard Wilson, they're like not blitzing at all. They have extremely low blitz rates. And then Anthony Weaver, who's the defensive coordinator in Miami, he's going full Wink Martindale. Their blitz rate is like the fourth or fifth highest rate in the league. So this is a very interesting like battle of defensive coordinators who have been together previously and have a lot of schematic DNA sharing going on. But then one is like, hey, we're just going to crank up the blitz rate. And the other one was like, no, we're not really doing that. So just a little interesting tidbit that I thought was funny to look at when I was looking at all the preparations for this game.
Yeah, it's almost like on paper you could kind of buy that approach, but man, this secondary is getting absolutely toasted. So they're trying something, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Game preview. Please win to avoid Tua Herbert discourse. I think we're pretty well past that.
Oh, it won't matter if the Dolphins win.
Sure. I don't know. I think we're pretty clearly like, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. We'll start with the injury report. Very extensive injury report for the Chargers this week. And some late additions that are potentially scary. So we'll, of course, start with the offensive line. Joe Alt has not practiced this week, but he has ditched the walking boots, which is good. Jim Harbaugh said earlier this week that he was doing great. I think maybe a potential toss-up for next week. So we'll see what happens there. He's not going to play this week after a back-to-back DNP. Trey Pipkins also back-to-back DNP with his knee injury. I was told that this is the same knee issue that he's been dealing with that was re-aggravated this last week. So this could be a multiple week absence for Trey Pipkins, which is not great. Also not great, Jamari Sawyer dealing with a knee injury, limited yesterday, did not practice today. So the Chargers could potentially be out for at least this week and potentially next week. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, Trey Pipkins, and Jamari Sawyer, their 4 top offensive tackles. This could mean Bobby Hart snaps at right tackle or Foster Sorrell snaps at right tackle this week, and at least a 2 more week stint for Austin Deculus at left tackle. So not great along the offensive tackle situation right now, guys.
Yes, Austin Deculus, he is who he is. I know it's just the stat sheet. You could argue credit or no credit, fault or no fault. 5 pressures, 3 sacks last week, and he's their better tackle right now, potentially. Not great. This is terrible. You're out of depth. The depth is gone. Whatever depth you had, that depth is gone. The depth for that depth is also gone. Unfortunately, Andre James can't play tackle, so you're stuck. Center, great. You brought like the best depth they brought in was at center, and they aren't playing him, and he won't play. And everywhere else, they're losing everybody else. I don't expect any of these to get turned around. Sawyer going from limited to did not participate sucks. Trey Pipkins, I respect him for trying to get out there as often as he can, even in game with injuries. But yeah, the good news is the interior is there. The bad news, I don't know if Becton even plays a whole game because he basically has not. And Bozeman does play a whole game, and it stinks. So they've got Zion at least.
Yeah, Zion and Mekhi Becton are each in the top 15 in pass blocking efficiency rating, so that's good. Obviously, Mekhi has not played as much, but
yeah.
So Mekhi has a huge like splint on his middle fingers on his left hand. So he says that he is going to be playing, and he practiced yesterday in a yellow non-contact jersey, limited as you see on the sheet here. Today he was in a regular jersey, full participant. So he'll play. I know the tackle stuff wasn't great in New York, but man, they probably got to kick him out to offensive tackle this week. And I know it like the reps and the communication is not going to be there. And he practiced at guard today. And I understand like you signed him as a guard. He's probably is better as a guard, but we're really going to do Bobby Hart snaps at right tackle. I don't know, man. That's going to be really, really tough to watch.
Yeah, at this point, like I'll put Cam Hart out there. I'll take anything.
You'll put the 6'3", 205-pound corner out there.
He's physical, man. He's physical. I'll give him that.
Yeah, so tough watch. Hopefully, maybe they're just resting Jamari Sawyer. I don't know, but anytime you're a DNP on Thursday, you kind of have to assume that they're not playing. So it's just unfortunate there. Also on the DNP standpoint, Darius Davis has not practiced this week. I would not be surprised if they ended up putting him on injured reserve this week. They signed Jalen Rigger on the practice squad, Naeem Hines on the practice squad, potentially could do some returning for the Chargers in his stead. But, you want Darius Davis to be able to get fully healthy before he's out there being your main returner again. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens there. But DNPs again this week is not great.
No, definitely not there. Bummer. Not that it was great beforehand, but I think it's gotten worse. So I'm game for anything. Do you expect a special teams change again this week? Or are they just going with Vidal, Keandre Lambert-Smith one more time to see what happens?
I don't believe that they will put Keandre Lambert-Smith back there again. I think the signings and specifically it being Naeem Hines, I don't think you do that if you don't feel like you need help on special teams. So I think it'll be Hines and Vidal back there on kickoff return.
And I wouldn't mind that. Give it a whirl. I mean, Miller Hines was a good returner in the preseason, so yeah, I'm all for it. Just don't hand him the football,
and just
or punt it to him.
Just don't punt it. He can do kickoff returns for sure.
You can do kickoff return. McConkey, as long as you don't, run into the kicker, let McConkey return punts. We got this, guys. We just solved it.
Yeah, there we go.
You're welcome.
Ryan Ficken, hit us up, dude.
Yep, thank you.
Deshaun Hand, also DNPs the first 2 days. This is a sneaky big loss. He's their leading pressure getter along the defensive line, although Tier Tart is like more effective from a per play status. But Deshaun Hand has been playing very well in a limited role. That's a big loss. That means Otito Ogbonnia will probably be active again, which I think is overall a net negative for this team. So hopefully Naquan Jones can get after there and they're okay. Obviously, it'll mean more snaps for Justin Eboigbe as well. So they have depth at defensive tackle, but this is a sneaky loss this week for the Chargers defensive line.
No, that's not great. We were looking for anything for pass rush. So at least you have Hand. You knew going into this year too, like Hand is your primary pass rusher, which isn't saying much, but he is. Him to be out too. The good news is they brought in somebody via trade this week. Not a D tackle, but it'll help.
Yeah, that will help for sure. The last one on a positive side is Denzel Perryman was a full participant in practice this week. A good sign that he could potentially make his return from injury reserve this week. Obviously, if he's a full participant again tomorrow, I would kind of expect him to get out there. And then we'll kind of see what they do from a roster construction standpoint. But I think Denzel Perryman should help with one of the things we're going to talk about later in this episode with his decisiveness and physicality. So hopefully he can stay healthy the rest of the way.
Yes, I'll leave it at that since we are talking about him in a bit. But yes, it'll be nice to have him back out there if he can.
Yeah. On the Dolphins side of things, Tyrell Dodson, sneaky big loss, I guess, for the Dolphins with a concussion. He has not practiced yet, so he will be out. He is their leading tackler and probably their best linebacker. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Elijah Campbell, one of their backup corners, was downgraded to DNP. So the Dolphins are relatively healthy outside of Tyreek Hill, but they're still pretty bad.
Hey, their health is good. They're just really bad.
Yeah.
So we will say it's Tyreek Hill. I guess that's it for them, right? This whole season. Darren Waller came back, or he's worked in. So it's all good all around for them.
Is Austin Jackson healthy? He might be out.
I don't know.
If PFF will load for me real quick. I want to say they have one offensive line starter that's injured who is like on IR. I think might be their right guard or right tackle. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways, we'll continue on here. Coaching storylines that we are following this week. Tyler, what did you come up with for this one?
I feel like Omari and Hampton getting involved in the passing game and as a check down guy was almost an accident. They did it once, did it a couple times, and it just happened to work. And then Greg Roman was like, I don't know, maybe I'll do more of that. Well, Hampton's out. I'm sorry. I would like to give credit, but sometimes I just kind of feel like it was like, interesting. All right, let's go with that. Not to his credit. They leaned into it. Hampton caught, it feels like 4 or 5 or 6 passes every game now. Some as a check down, some intentionally, some on a screen, you name it. Does Greg Roman now chicken out of that and just like, I don't have Harris or Hampton anymore? And does he completely chicken out of that in the screen game, the quick check down game without Hampton out there? So it's Vidal, it's Haskins. You could check it down to those guys. Vidal seems a bit more fun, but I think Haskins had a couple of good games, including against the Broncos last year. Does Greg Roman kind of chicken out of that, though? I worry that without the talent out there that Roman tends to bring real back in the play calling. And I worry a little bit, not that it's very difficult to do, but it took a while to get Hampton into that role. Yeah. And that's Omari and Hampton, your first round pick. I just worry a little bit that Greg Roman is going to go, we'll do it when Hampton comes back. I'm very worried that he's just going to retreat into a shell.
Yeah, I think if you are going to truly like manufacture easy touches, that can't be the case. Not Kamani Vidal and Naeem Miller-Hines are not the pass catchers that Hampton is. I mean, Miller-Hines is obviously like he probably can run more routes than Omarion, but Omarion was so effective in just creating yards after contact, making people miss, and just would not get tackled out in space. So getting him out in space against a corner, against a safety, against a linebacker, it's a really, really big, advantage for them. And hopefully that continues once he returns. So the opening script the last couple of weeks, not the last couple of weeks because the Giants opening script was terrible, but the opening script last week was honestly really, really good. They were doing some really nice things from a, play action standpoint, from an easy touch standpoint. They were getting the ball out quick. Justin Herbert's average depth of target has come down significantly than it was last year. Last year it was about 9 yards, and this year it's back to 7. It's back to what he had been previously. So I think Roman deserves some credit for having the ability occasionally to have like a good opening script. Like I remember being at the Chiefs game last year at SoFi Stadium, no Alt, no Slater in that one. Herbert could barely move. And the Chargers marched right down the field on the opening possession. They were doing some really cool things. And then obviously once the opening script goes out, you have to call like your normal offense. And then they just were not able to do anything after that because it's a huge mismatch. So this is definitely a situation where Roman needs to stick with the creative stuff. let's get 3 or 4 reverses to Quentin Johnston. Let's get some lad screens. Let's get some RPO work in here, because you just don't have the offensive line to hold up right now. You just cannot do your traditional drop back performance, play action situations where your tackles just can't hold up in this one. So Austin Deculus and Bobby Hart, man, like you have to change your playbook. You cannot do the same old Greg Roman staples, or Justin Herbert is going to continue to get hit, over and over and over again. So I hope that he is smart enough to realize that he cannot take that part out of the playbook this week.
No, I hope not. Like you said, the opening script, I felt so good. I thought the Chargers were back. Giants, okay, it hit them like a ton of bricks. You lose Alt. Shoot, it's not your day. And that defensive line clearly is very, very good. Commanders opening script. Whoa, look at this. The dressing up of things, the motion, the fake toss, the reverse, all this, the rollout. Wow, it caught them all by surprise. And just, most of the rest of the way. Now they opened the third quarter with that play that was supposed to go to Trey Harris. They just couldn't block. And maybe you have to kind of take that or out of the playbook or limit it in some way because you can't block for that long. I don't know. I hope things are changed this week. If it's more of what we saw against the Commanders and hopefully not against the Giants, another long one.
Yeah. I mean, the Panthers have their main backup offensive lineman out there. They're out like some really good offensive linemen themselves. Chuba Hubbard did not play last week. Rico Dowdle ran for like 200 yards. I know this because I was playing him in fantasy football. It was not very fun. So it can be done. This Dolphins defense is not very good.
No.
But the strength of the Dolphins defense obviously is their edge rushers. And so I hope that Greg Roman, I think you can spam the easy button to 17 points this week against the Dolphins, and that might be enough. Maybe that can get you to 20 points. But if you're trying to do your same old Greg Roman offense, man, it's just not going to work this week, and it's not going to work next week either. So the Colts also have some great edge rushers. So this is time for Greg Roman to say, hey, man, we just have to do the offense that gets Justin Herbert out of this game healthy. And I think that's the most important thing. And spam the easy buttons and do as much as you can on the ground, and just get out of there healthy is the most important thing.
Yeah, I hope so. Steven, you're focusing on the defense this week. What are you looking at?
Yeah, focusing on the defense. I think from a stylistic standpoint, this should kind of match up better with what the Chargers like to do. The Dolphins do not usually go into situations that would, bring the Chargers out of what they want to do. So they want Derwin James around the football. They want Derwin James playing nickel. They want 6 defensive backs out there. They want to control everything in front of them. This is a game where they should be able to do that. So the Miami Dolphins are running 11 personnel at the 8th highest rate in the league, which is 1 running back, 3 receivers, 1 tight end. They're not really running a 6 offensive lineman out there very often. That's usually not like a Shanahan kind of thing. They do play a fullback a decent amount or a second running back, I should say, a decent amount. But overall, this is not like a overly physical team. They're dealing with some injuries. I just looked. Austin Jackson is out. He is on injury reserve. So they're playing a backup right tackle. This run game is probably the worst that it's been under Mike McDaniel. And even when the run game has been good, it's not a let's run at you and let's be physical kind of rushing attack. So I think stylistically, this could be a positive matchup for the Chargers defense. So overall, I mentioned the run game. They're 29th in rushing success rate. They just played 2 of the better rushing success rate teams in the Commanders and the Giants. They are composite offensive line ranking wise from Ben Baldwin. They are 29th in pass protection. There's no Tyreek Hill. We have seen obviously Derwin James against Darren Waller, who is probably their second most important pass catcher. So we have seen the Chargers against this specific team, this kind of stylistic of team, have a lot of success on defense. And I think they will be able to kind of like run their same stuff, get back to what they have been previously. We're going to do the staples. We have Odafe in this game. More on him later. I think this could be a situation where the Chargers defense kind of settles down a little bit, Maybe they get a couple turnovers.
Mhm.
And I think just stylistically is a much better matchup for them. Just given like the weaknesses that they have with kind of handling the heavy packages that other teams are throwing at them. And the Dolphins don't really do that. So I think we could see the Chargers defense get back on track. I think we could see a big day from Derwin James, could see a big day from Deion Henley, etc. Because I just don't like the Miami offense caters exactly to what the Chargers defense wants. They want to space and chase. They want to play 6 defensive backs. They want to control everything in front of them. And the Dolphins are going to do that. So I'm hoping that Jesse Minter and company can be Jesse Minter and company again after having a couple of rough games the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, good point bringing up the tight ends and the difference there. They do have Alec Ingold, but otherwise, like Darren Waller will not mistake him for a strong blocking tight end. Julian Hill, Tanner Connor. I don't think that's the same kind of group that they've been facing the last few weeks. Certainly not what the Giants were able to throw at them. So, yeah, as far as get right game, Tua has 3 fumbles, 4 picks, and has 8 turnover-worthy plays. On pace for what could be the worst turnover-worthy play rate of his career. So, yeah, even if there's, HN gets this, Waddle gets that, Waller somehow gets something, there's always opportunity for a turnover or 2. And I'm hoping this game, maybe not as great as it was against the Raiders, but is able to bait Tua or anybody into mistakes the same way they did against Geno Smith. That's what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah, and Tua we know is a point and shoot quarterback, and so if they're able to muddy up the looks a little bit, they can definitely fluster him, and they can definitely this could be a big Tuli game, could be a big Odafe game. So this is potentially a get right game for the defense, and I think we could see that come to fruition. The matchup next week, I'm a little bit more concerned about, but this week I feel pretty good about the defense getting back to who they are, their identity. I think, creating some havoc plays out there. One thing that has kind of come back down to earth. So they were top 5 in turnover percentage last season. This year, they're kind of more back half of the league. So they haven't really gotten a ton of turnovers, but this could be an opportunity for that to kind of come back to where they've been at, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, hope so.
All right. Before we continue, our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more Chargers Dolphins after this. All right. What are we most excited to see this week? I think you picked the right one. Odafe Owe coming over. I think that's the opportunity for the Chargers this week. There are a couple other like specific matchups here, but ultimately, this is excitement, it's anxiety, it's stress. The Dolphins defense is horrible. They are not good in any defensive category. Rushing success rate, they're like okay in, but they're 30th in points allowed. They just had the Panthers drop 40 on them. The defense is not very good. They are 31st in explosive play percentage. They are 31st in EPA per play. They are 32nd in success rate. They allow a ton of big plays. They allow a lot of short plays. Like, the defense is not good. You mentioned it. Rasul Douglas is good. Jalen Phillips is good. That's about it. Their defensive tackle room is very young. It can be had. Their best linebacker is out this week. Their safeties are really bad outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's kind of mid now. I just, not that the offense needs to can get back on track, because the tackles are a huge weakness, but can we get Ladd McConkey going a little bit? Can Keenan get back out there a little bit? Oronde Gadsden has not really been a factor after having his like breakout performance, and Jim Harbaugh saying that he's going to be out there more. That hasn't really happened. So I'm very concerned about the tackles. But if they can mitigate the edge pressure, they can score 20 points this week. They could score 23 points this week, potentially. It's a big if. Because the rest of the Dolphins defense is truly, truly horrible. So just handle the edges, and I think they'll be okay. But again, I don't know how much confidence I have in that happening.
Yeah, at least there's some, I don't know, you feel good, I guess, that the interior trio, assuming they don't make a move, it is what it is. And just where you have to protect against, like, that is, we got those two sides. Yeah. It's going to suck. It's going to be a few plays that kill drives. But yeah, as you said, where's Ladd McConkey? Where's Oronde Gadsden? Can you get Conklin involved somehow this week? He might drop it again. but can you at least get him involved in some way that, I don't know, do something with him, have him run cardio down the sidelines so you can free up Trey Harris. I don't know. What is it this week? If they continue to, like, do I hate that Quentin Johnson is having a good year? No. Do I hate that Keenan Allen is getting more targets? Like, that's great and all, but where's the rest of it? Can you add anything else? Do you have the time to add anything else? Can you mitigate the pass rush enough to find anybody else? I'm open to anything. This is a good game to, I think, try something different. You have to, I think, in this game, especially without Hampton. It's like, okay, no Najee, no Hampton, Greg Roman. What is your passing game like? And you can't do the play action deep stuff. So what does your quick game look like? What does all this look like to you? What misdirection are you doing? So I hope they can find anything. And if I'm happy if it's Trey Harris, Gadsden, Conklin, Scott Matlock, Tucker Fisk, I don't care. I hope they can find anything against this defense this week.
Yeah, so the Dolphins are starting Cornell Armstrong in the slot, which I honestly did not know who that is.
Creative player. Very cool.
He was a 6th-round draft pick in 2018, and he has a total of 571 defensive snaps in his career. That's not a lot for a 7-year career at this point. So
no, it's barely Craig Maker.
We've been saying, like, for the last few weeks, like, hey, maybe this is the lad game. If you can't get lad going this week, man, like you mentioned, it's not bad that they have spreaded the ball around more, but they, like, again, there's you're on your 5th and 6th offensive tackles here. Mm-hmm. If the slot receiver can't get going this week without offensive tackles and against a core special teams player for the bulk of his career, I'm a little concerned about the usage at this point. So hopefully this is a big game.
I do hope so too, because it's not like he's been out there and terrible. It's the opportunities aren't there, or they haven't been featured. So we'll see. By the way, Craig Maker had played more special team snaps than this guy. More defensive snaps than this guy.
Yeah, because Maker was he started like a full season for them. Right?
Heck yeah, he did. I don't even want to look at the numbers for this one. Yep, not doing that one.
Yeah, this guy, this is the first time he's started, and he's not really like playing a ton. He's just their starting slot corner. So
yeah, but again, I said that about Andrew Phillips, and he looked like Chris Hairston. I'm sorry, not Chris Hairston. Chris Harris. Very different players.
Very different players. Yeah. All right, Tyler. What are you looking forward to about Odafe Owe? I need to keep on saying Odafe because it's not Odafe. I need to say Odafe. That's how it's pronounced. So Odafe Owe.
I'm just gonna call him Owe. Make it easy on me. Listen, I don't know if you've watched games recently, everybody, but one pressure a game is really not good. So honestly, I'm excited if he gets 2 pressures a game. Now, for whatever reason, some of social media has decided that pressures don't matter, to which I say, I don't know what you're talking about. It's 2025. Move on, please. But I would love for the Chargers to get anything out of Owe. Now, is he going to play 60, 70 snaps this game? Probably not. Unlikely to happen. But you know what? Anything else works. And listen, if all it is something that allows Thule right now to be more productive, or you can rush a guard and, hey, look, it's more productive, or it's not just a giant waste of time, I'll take it. If it's a Tua holds onto the ball for 42 seconds and then just like fumbles it because he doesn't remember what to do, because Owe is just so fast and athletic and high motor that he gets a sack, great. Anything. I could sit here and talk about how, beat the tackles, do this, do that. I don't know what it is he'll provide to the Chargers this week, but it's something. And if it's more than 1 pressure, congratulations. You are the 2nd best edge rusher on this team.
Yeah, I think the Ravens fans were trying to talk like Owe was like a Bud Dupree level kind of player.
I know.
So I went back and I watched the Chiefs game and the Lions games for the Ravens, and I thought Odafe Owe played really well. I didn't think he was like amazing, but he beat Penei Sewell on a couple of reps. He beat Taylor Decker on a couple of reps. He beat what's the rookie left tackle for the Chiefs name?
Simmons?
Yeah, Josh Simmons. Thank you. He cooked the right tackle Jawan Taylor on a spin move and on a cross chop, and all these Ravens fans are like, he doesn't have any pass rush moves, and I'm like, buddy, I just saw him cross. I haven't seen
a cross chop or a spin move at all this week or this year.
I saw him cross chop. I saw him spin. I saw a double swipe. I saw speed to power. I don't know what Ravens fans are talking about here. So I'm excited about Owe. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, oh man, this is gonna like change the Chargers defense by any means. I think like he'll help. But I don't not expecting the guy last season who had 10 sacks, but I think there's a reasonable expectations that he can give you 3 or 4 pressures a game. And that would be a huge upgrade for the Chargers. We talked about this on Tuesday after the trade, like allowing them to actually have those 3 edge rusher looks matter again is huge for this team. It's one of the main things that they build their pass rush plan out of is having the 3 edge rusher looks. So I think Owe will help tremendously. I don't think he's going to have like a ton of sack production this week just because, new team, maybe he doesn't play a whole lot.
Sure.
But I think he will have a few moments in this game where we stand up and be like, hey, that looks a little different than Bud Dupree.
I hope so. And look, I know people will want immediate production out of this player.
Right.
And he might play 12 snaps. I have no idea. Do you anticipate that they will keep kind of their rotation of Tuli Dupree and then let's say Owe Murphy? Or do you think they'll work it in a bit more than that?
I would expect Owe to kind of rotate in with like the second group. The Chargers are, when they're in straight up like 4-man defensive line looks, they do kind of rotate 2 edge rushers in, 2 edge rushers out. I think they will still start with Bud and Tuli just because Bud, he plays the run, he's been on the team, etc. But I think Owe will play a good amount, like not a full starting kind of stuff. I think maybe that happens next week. But I would expect like 30 to 35 snaps for Owe. I think that's fair. Allow him to be your third edge rusher, get in on those 3 edge rusher looks. I think that's probably 35 snaps. I think that's good for him in his first game.
Yeah, I'll take it. That'd be great. In that case, I do expect 2 pressures, I guess. I mean, his pass rush win rate has been good, just not the productivity. Or do I have that flipped?
His pass rush win rate is like 19% or 16%. There's just not, he has 0 sacks. I think it's like 8 pressures, but
yeah, cool.
12 pressures, excuse me. Undersold that one. But he did only play 20 snaps this last week against Houston. So the Ravens kind of like started to make that transition to Mike Green full time. But 12 pressures is a lot more than what Bud Dupree has.
Yes. But thanks, Ravens fans. This just feels like one. If the Chargers are in the postseason, they're going on this run. I hope so. And it's just wishful thinking. Everyone looks back and goes, you got him for what? Just feels like one of those ones. I feel like Elston and Minter will make this one right.
Yeah. Big curiosity this week on defense is what happens with RJ Mickens. Is this kind of some smoke and mirrors talk that maybe he just, is the 4th safety, or is he actually going to play? Because Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter kind of seem like he's going to play a little bit this week. So I'm a little curious about that. Or is this really just like Elijah Molden and Tony Jefferson, their kind of show, and Mickens is active, but plays more special teams kind of stuff like that. But, Minter and Harbaugh said some really high praise this week for him so far.
Let me see. How much has he played so far? RJ Mickens.
I don't think he's been active a whole lot, honestly.
So he's got no defensive snaps so far.
Yeah. But I do think his athleticism could definitely help in the back end a little bit more. So I'm curious to see if he plays a lot or any, but Minter spoke about him for like 2 minutes today, and Harbaugh spoke about him yesterday. So hopefully that's
his instincts were great. Like he had a great preseason. So I trust him, but I trust him for a rookie to go out there and get his job done.
He'll be active, I think, from a special team standpoint, because Alohi was playing a little bit on special teams. Jefferson is now going to be like starting, so that's probably less special team snaps for him. So I think he'll be active, which is good, and hopefully we can get him some eyes on him a little bit.
Do you remember who their punt protector was on special teams in the preseason? Because that's Alohi, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it is Alohi. It has been Alohi. Was it Williamson?
I don't recall. I'll have to go back and look. I was curious if one of the running backs did
it's usually a safety. I feel like with Ficken. So
Could be Williamson.
Maybe it's Williamson. I don't know.
It'd be nice if you made a tackle.
Yeah. All right. What is keeping us up at night? You already know mine. Bobby Hart versus Jalen Phillips and all these guys kind of terrifies me. I don't want to talk too much about this. And we don't even know if it's Bobby Hart. It could be Foster Sorrell. For what it's worth, Bobby Hart has been the one in the pictures this week. The Chargers are trying to be very intentional about not showing who's playing right tackle. But the two options are Bobby Hart and then a player who looks completely different skin complexion wise than Bobby Hart. So I'm pretty sure it's Bobby Hart.
Good. And that's why all the photos are in black and white. No, really throw everybody off. Yeah, listen, it's throw the tackle out there. I mean, honestly, not that I'd say it would keep me up at night, but if it were Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins, you could still say this, like Phillips and Chubb, like this is it. This is their thing on defense.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. But it being Hart and Deculus in particular is congratulations to them in advance, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's not been a great start to the season for any of their edge rushers. This could be a bit of a get right game for them. We'll see. But hopefully the Chargers just stick Tucker Fisk out there the entire game and just double team Jalen Phillips, and it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, if you leave Bobby Hart one-on-one against Jalen Phillips, it's not going to be great. Bobby Hart was like the fourth string tackle on the Commanders in the preseason and like barely played. So I don't even know like what kind of shape he's in. It's a very different system. He's been on the team for 9 days at this point, and he's potentially starting this week. So it's not a great situation. And again, it could be Foster Sorrell. We'll see. But I think this regime kind of views Sorrell as a guard, and I think it'll be Hart this week, which is a little sad, honestly.
Yay. It's exciting.
All right, Tyler, what is keeping you up at night this week?
You know how we started the season and Deion Henley was going to be an all-pro, and then suddenly no one is having that conversation at all, and we don't really talk about it? That's kind of keeping me up at night. It's been a rough couple of weeks for the linebackers in general. Yeah. I do think Troy Dye has bounced back a bit, but it's been pretty rough. And it's just, hey, let's just go head first towards the bait and whatever the fancy stuff is in the backfield that's going on. Maybe it's play action. Maybe it's a fullback, whatever it is. Oh, whoops. What's that? Oh, it's a running back running 20 yards by himself to the left side. Let's do it again. Oh, shoot. There he goes against the Giants. Let's sucker ourselves in. Like the whole, not that the linebackers, no, I can't say this. The IQ has kind of dropped here. The processing is gone. And they are supposed to be, especially someone like Henley, so quick to diagnose, so quick to read things, sift, whatever. And I know Henley isn't a true, run stopping, fly past the guard kind of guy, but he's a smart guy, and he's usually been playing pretty well. Last couple of weeks have been rough. I mean, Bill Krosky-Merritt, I could have scored on some of those runs. There was nobody around these guys, and that goes to the safeties as well. Linebackers and the safeties are going, oh, there he goes, and touchdown. And I'm just like, does anybody want to stop this guy? You look at the Broncos and Dobbins. Okay, check down. There he goes. Anybody want to get over there? No. Like the whole processing is completely gone. I don't know what happened, but the last couple of weeks have not been good. The D tackles, as far as I'm aware, are still playing well. Generally speaking, they've all been healthy, so it's not like they're losing that up there. Tule's played the run well. I think Dupree's played the run well. So the defensive line, I think, hasn't really changed. But the processing on these guys, they're falling for everything, going the wrong way. It's been a real disappointment, unfortunately.
Yeah, there were a lot of Dolphins-esque plays that the Commanders were running last week. And to be fair, like Cliff Kingsbury had that group dialed in, man. Like his game plan was really, really impressive. They did a lot of cool stuff. But they highlighted this on the broadcast on the first touchdown for Bill Krosky-Merritt, where they send a tight end in motion across, and they have a 6 offensive linemen to that side. And Derwin James and Troy Dye run into each other while Derwin is trying to chase the motion, and then there's just nobody over there. And then there was this other play where they put Debo and Bill Krosky-Merritt in the backfield. They did a cheat motion for Debo. It looks like they're going to do their usual swing pass thing, And instead, they're running like an angle route for Bill Krosky-Merritt, which is actually like kind of a shallow screen for himself, almost like a tunnel screen. And then he creates a big explosive gain. So the linebackers had a really tough game last week. I thought against the Giants, it was more so just like they were not physically into it. Like they were not matching the physicality that the Giants were bringing to the table. Last week, they were just not seeing things. And I thought that they were slow. I thought that they were not reacting properly. They were not triggering when they needed to trigger. And it was a tough watch. And there were a lot of alleys that were happening on intermediate crossing routes that were the result of the linebackers not getting to their drops properly, like we have seen them in the past. So the way that this defense is constructed, you have to have linebackers who can get to their drops quickly, carry over routes, and that's been a huge strength of Troy Dye and Deion Henley. And right now, that's not even being close to happening. So this is one of the reasons why I think this could be a get right game, because this is not really a physicality matchup for the linebackers, and it is more of a space and chase situation for the linebackers. So I'm hopeful that the stylistic matchup and Denzel Perryman come back allow the linebackers to kind of get back to who they were. If they were the linebackers from last week, it could be a long day for the defense, and that is very much a possibility against this offense that motions at the snap at the highest rate in the league by like a full 10%. So there's so much eye candy with this offense that if the linebackers are not seeing things, it will absolutely show up on the field, and it will be a problem for the 4-3-2 40 nightmare that you have on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, whatever against whatever tackle or Tua making mistakes, it just genuinely might not matter. They can just, here you go, HN go that way, and they're not. Jump window does it this way. Oops, didn't work out. It could get ugly for this team, especially for a team that is trying to put together 17 points to win this game. If HN breaks one,
yeah, HN is the problem this week. I feel okay about them handling Jalen Waddle. I feel okay about them handling Waller, but HN could break this one open for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's just at some point he's just faster and more athletic than some of these guys, and that's just you can't get there. Yeah,
I agree there. All right, X Factor picks. I think for me it's Kamani and Naheem Miller Hines, I should say. The Dolphins, like I mentioned earlier, they're allowing explosive receptions at a really, really, really high level. They're allowing explosive runs at a high level. That's not really Hassan Haskins' game. He is more of like the physical, innings eater kind of back. I know that he's probably going to get the bulk of the carries, but this really should be a Kamani game. Like this really should be an opportunity to see what you have in Kamani Vidal truly for the first time. I understand why he didn't make the 53-man roster. Tough to keep 4 running backs with everything else and things like that. But I still think that there's a good pass catching back in there. I still think he has the explosive play potential. And, there were only really like 2 good runs that he had, but they looked like real actual NFL runs. And I think if they lean more into the Kamani side of things, I think their running game can be okay. If they try and just like bludgeon the Dolphins with Hassan Haskins, I just don't really know like what that's going to give them. And then Miller Hines, like maybe he could be kind of like the swing pass guy. Maybe he's the jet motion sweep guy. Maybe he's a big kickoff return, which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to play, but I think he will. And I think he could pop a couple, big plays in some capacity. And the Chargers need any explosive play that they can get with the way that they're going to try and win this game.
Yeah, the efficiency might not be great, but at this point, with the guys you have, both tackles out, I'm not really looking for efficiency to be awesome. So breaking a couple runs, passes, or a kickoff return would be amazing. And honestly, if Miller Hines is somehow able to, in one game, steady or improve or bolster their return game, that's a huge win. And I would credit Ryan Ficken for cycling players until he figured it out. Again, I'm still not 100% sure how much he would be involved, but I hope he is. Like you said, sorry, did they officially assign Jalen Reagor to the roster, or was that a report that never happened?
Practice squad.
Practice squad, excuse me. Okay, so he's on the practice squad. Yeah, I hope they lean into Vidal. I feel like we like him, and I mean you and me, obviously Alex does, but like we like him more than social media and Twitter.
Yeah.
Seems to just absolutely hate this guy, probably because his name isn't Rocket Sanders. But I don't know. I see the value in what he provides, and hopefully he can put together a solid game for them.
Yeah, I think if the Chargers had their normal tackles, I feel like they would be okay with the run game this week.
Sure.
But I think you're just not setting your offense for success if you're going to try and do the Hassan Haskins thing. Like, I think you need to lean into the potential explosive play variance and let Vidal kind of carry things and hope that he can pop a couple big plays. And same thing for Miller Hines. Like, I don't think you're really gaining anything by doing the whole 3 yards per carry kind of situation with Hassan Haskins.
Wait, Jake says is he just Nyheim Hines again? Have we dropped the name? Is it Nyheim Hines now? Are we over it?
I don't think you can just like change your name like that.
The man formerly known as Nyheim Miller Hines. Goodness. What did the Chargers announce it as? Chargers. Come on. I got to know. This is the important things, guys. This is what you're here for.
He is Nyheim Hines on the practice squad roster.
Oh my gosh, we did it. I appreciate that. Thank goodness. Just Hines.
Why?
Because he literally because he can't hold on to anything. I'm out, everybody. That's a fumbles joke. There we go.
Yeah, he was announced as Nyheim Hines in the news release too. So there we go.
There you go.
So he changed his name to Miller Hines and then he changed it back. Okay. I missed that part. I just assumed it was still Miller Hines. My bad.
Yeah. Nyheim Ocho Cinco is gonna be sick.
All right. We kind of hinted at this. Denzel Perryman could potentially be back this week.
Yes. I hesitate to say thank goodness. Is he fast enough to catch Devin Achane? No, he's not. But there's just something about the down. Denzel Perryman is exactly who he is. And if nothing else, they just kind of need a spark right now.
Yeah.
And that may not necessarily be a play that he makes. I hope it is. But if it's Hanley or not, Derwin James is the biggest yappers. Denzel Perryman's definitely one of them. He's at minimum entertaining. And I think, yes. Yeah. And I just think they need a little bit of a spark. But I think of any of Henley and of Dye and the linebackers they have, pure downhill run stopping stuff, that is Denzel Perryman. I think just that specific aspect of him, not quarterback spy stuff, that's still Henley, not coverage stuff, that's Henley or Dye, but specifically the downhill running stuff, that's Perryman. I'm hoping, I'm not saying they would have beaten the Giants because of Denzel Perryman, but they really needed a Denzel Perryman in that game. Yeah. Because it was just Cam Scatterboo run into wall, and Denzel Perryman is your wall. So they really needed him in that game. I wish he were. Honestly, I think I underappreciated what he might have done for this defense until the last couple of weeks where it feels like you really needed him. So I hope I return this game. Sparks them. It gives them better play, all that.
Yeah, the Dolphins obviously run a lot of outside zone, and that's what, Mike McDaniel is known for. They actually run a decent amount of counter as well. So the ability that Denzel Perryman has to just fly downhill and punch a guard in the face, football related terms, obviously, that can definitely, spark a team. Right. And I think the defense responds to that. They have definitely missed his physicality. So I think this could be a good game for him. I'm not expecting him to play a whole lot because the Chargers do play a lot of dime. Deion is going to be their guy. But I think maybe like 20 snaps for Denzel. Can he just have a big hit? Maybe he gets a sack, something like that just kind of energizes things. I think is very possible this week.
Yeah, I don't know how game ready he'll be and all that, but I don't know. Just watching the defense the last few weeks, especially with the East Coast, it is a return to Miami, by the way, for Denzel Perryman. So there's kind of something else there for him too. The defense looked a bit sluggish, tired, you name it. Denzel Perryman is just a freight train and a ball of energy, and I think they need that.
Yeah, I agree. All right. If you can tell, I'm kind of expecting a low-scoring game this week. I think the Chargers defense should be able to manage this week and be able to potentially give them a Falcons-esque win, where obviously they had 3-4 interceptions against Kirk Cousins. Maybe not to that kind of scale, maybe it's one interception, one fumble kind of situation. I think I trust the defense to respond in kind to the way that they played the last couple of weeks. Again, the stylistic matchup of this one, I think, should be a bigger opportunity for them. Odafe gives them a boost. Perryman gives them a boost. I think I trust the defense to keep it a low-scoring game. I just don't trust the offense to score more than like I think best case scenario is that they get to 20. So I'm saying Chargers are going to win a super ugly, not fun game to watch, 16-13 outcome. But frankly, that's all that matters, man. They just have to come back from Miami with a win. I do not care how it looks like. Get to next week with some of your guys coming back. That's all that I care about.
Yeah, they have enough to get this done, and the Dolphins are that bad. And again, they genuinely seem like a team that is out of it. The Giants at least had a spark of hope with Dart, and things could turn around and whatever. The Dolphins, we know what they are, and they've practically given up. It just feels like a team that is giving up. And if you go out and you get outcoached by Mike McDaniel, who has his brain is in a different planet right now, and he just seems to be disinterested and removed from everything at this point. If you can't go outcoach that and the worst defense in the league, one of them, like we've got Harbaugh era questions at this point, because then what is your purpose? If we cannot outcoach a coach who's basically out, what are we doing here? Yeah. So I need there to be a coaching advantage. I still think that there is. They have the better nope, not going to say that. They have the better defensive coordinator. They have, in theory, a better offense compared to the defense they're facing.
Sure.
And they definitely have a better head coach. And they definitely have the better quarterback. So I honestly can see, and everyone can see, 10 different reasons the Chargers lose this one. Have they even cleaned up the penalties yet, which you didn't really discuss yet? Yeah. You pointed out in our group chat, the Chargers are the fifth most pre-snap penalties. Great. I almost picked loss. I told Steven before the show started I may change my pick. They can't lose this game. I will pick them to lose again. I'll tell you right now, I'm picking them to lose against the Colts next week. Unless something bad happens to the Colts this week.
Same.
Unfortunately, I will pick them to lose that game. But this one, by golly, if this is the ship I go down on, here we go. Chargers win 17-16.
Last second field goal for Cam Digger. I don't know. Yeah, man, this is a tough situation. And people, Athir has them scoring 27 points. Jake says he thinks that we absolutely smoked them. I don't think we like the drop off from Trey Pipkins to Bobby Hart is ginormous. And the drop off from Pipkins to Sawyer was big, and Sawyer's not even playing. So they are starting at right tackle a guy who they signed off the street, has been with the team for 9 days. And he's going up against Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, all of that stuff. And Austin Deculus is probably not that much better on the left side. So can you mitigate that? Yes, that's going to be very difficult to do that for the entire game with 2 practice squad level offensive tackles. So, yeah, man, if they score more than 20 points, I would be stunned. If they do, great. I will give Greg Roman and Justin Herbert their flowers. It's going to be a tough game for offense just because their offensive tackle situation is dire.
Yeah, and then I hope Becton plays the whole game, but just looking at the numbers, the percent of snaps, 75% in week 1, 100% in week 2, then 36% in week 3, 53% in week 5.
Yeah, it's 0 in week 4.
Yeah, 0 in week 4. So there's the sickness, there's the hand, there's the concussion, it's just been everything. And I don't believe those were things that affected him as much in his previous years when he was hurt, where I think it was like back and knees and stuff like that. So yeah, in this game, if Becton goes down or he's got to get his ankle wrapped or something, okay, who's playing? So it's Foster Sarrell at that point. So I need to see Mekhi Becton finish a game at this point because it's been a minute.
Yeah, there are going to be 2 offensive linemen on the Chargers roster that are going to be elevated from the practice squad that are potentially going to play if an injury happens. So you're gonna have your starting five: Deculus, Zion, Bozeman, Becton, Hart is what I am assuming. Andre James is your backup center. Foster Sorrell is your backup, probably everything. And then I don't know. Are you bringing up David Sharp also, or Josh Kaltenberger? Like, I don't know, man. It's not good. It's not good right now with the offensive line. The injuries are crazy. I do not remember the last time that the Chargers offensive line went through this many different injuries at the same time. Like previously, Mike Pouncey would get injured and then he would come back, and then Russell Okung would get injured, and then he would come back, and then like Michael Schofield would get injured. Something like that has happened before. Or obviously the 2020 season when Brian Bulaga was out for like the whole time. That sucked.
But at least Storm Norton got the whole year.
Yeah. But honestly, like I've genuinely never seen this. Like the only guys who have been healthy the only offensive lineman who has never been on the injury report this season is Zion Johnson. Everybody else has been on the
injury report. You just ruined it. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for ruining that one. Yeah.
Sorry.
I can't recall either. I can recall plenty of seasons where the Chargers have been more injured. Yeah. But specifically every starter basically or backup player on the line. Couldn't tell you. Like they've had guard injury luck or something, or maybe tackle injury luck, but everybody, I don't know.
Yeah, they're down to offensive tackle 5 and 6, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can't even have a depth argument at that point. You're on your practice squad.
Yeah. All right, Tyler. Any final thoughts here before we roll through some super chats?
Nope. Let's jump into them.
All right. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man says, I need Lad to give me 30 plus fantasy points benched scat for him. I hope Chargers bias don't screw me. Yeah, man, I think you should probably play Cam Scatterby going forward.
Yeah, I mean, goal line, a couple of receptions. The volume will definitely be there. Don't dynasty him. That might be like 2 years of Scatterby, and then who knows. But Lad hopefully gets going this week. It's been a few weeks, but hopefully he gets going this week. Frankly, he's still their best receiver, so get it done.
Yeah. I think I said this before, but Brooke is playing fantasy football for the first time ever. And she drafted Lad, and she's like, what the heck? Like, why isn't Lad getting the football? So this week she finally has decided to bench Lad. She's playing somebody else.
Oh man, I'm hit the more on PrizePicks.
I was like, I don't know. Like I keep telling her, I'm like, he looks good on tape. I promise. He's just not getting the football.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes this week. I think she played who did she end up playing? I forget. We talked about it like right before we started recording, but
Wandale Robinson.
No. It was like I want to say it was a running back, like maybe Travion Henderson, I think.
Oh, okay. I couldn't even tell you what his numbers have been.
He's not getting the football a lot, but Antonio Gibson just tore his ACL. So she was like, yeah, he's going to touch the football a lot more, right? And I was like, I mean, maybe. I think he should, but
yeah. I got you.
Mr. Dark Chow says, about Bozeman's blocking issues, does he not lift weights? Why was he so good in Baltimore? Does he not have any strength? Dude's only 30 years young. I wouldn't say he was like so good in Baltimore. He was definitely better in Baltimore. I know he lifts weights. I have seen him in person lift weights. He is very strong.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's communication issues, and they've switched to a scheme that doesn't really fit his skill set as a run blocker anymore. So they're doing a lot more run blocking schematics that require a more athletic center, and that's not who Bradley Bozeman is. So they've kind of shifted away from the Bozeman stuff, and that's the big issue, along with the communication errors.
Yeah, which again, a surprise why they went back with him and then didn't go add a more athletic guy. Yes, I know Kaltenberger's RAS is what it is. Doesn't really strike me as an on-field RAS guy as much as the testing guy.
Yeah. Aether says, can I say my GM is bad passing up the RB? Why? Explain to me, Ortiz. Bolts win 31-17. Big day from our defense.
Yeah, if listen, if Tua wants to give you 2 pick sixes, I could see 31 points. But otherwise, I would be stunned if the Chargers scored 31 points in this game.
Yeah. Passing up the running back, I don't really know what's going on there. If you want to clarify that, we will be happy to answer that question. But passing up the running back, he drafted one in the first round, paid Najee Harris, so I don't really understand the question there.
Is it a Scatterboo question? Is it a J.K. Dobbins question? Is it a Rocket Sanders question, for the love of God?
Fartman 420. Always laugh at that one. Why have we had so many injuries? Turf, bad luck. Any thoughts there?
Yes, to all of it, I suppose. I mean, Najee Harris doesn't. I mean, people have gone through the list several times. These players have never missed games. Joined the Chargers, missed games. Firework to the eyeball. I mean, it's bad luck. It's turf. It's potentially travel. They came out pretty relatively unscathed in Brazil, right?
Yeah, Perryman was really the only one that got hurt.
Yeah. So overall, like that game of all games was okay for them, but yeah, I don't know. MetLife, claiming neighbors and alt in that game. That sucks. So just a combination of everything. But yeah, so Hampton was on turf. Najee was on turf. Alt was on turf.
Harris was on turf.
Harris. Yeah.
Achilles.
Yeah. Yep. So
yeah.
Curse.
There's not a whole lot that you can say about Rashawn's injury is like he just took a wrong step and there was just a weird amount of pressure on that specific joint and then popped his patella tendon.
The internet will tell you that Zion Johnson took a shotgun to his knee, but whatever.
Anybody who's ever played football knows that stuff like that happens all the time. Same thing with Joe Alt. Like, what do you want Zion to do in that situation? Somebody who's never played football, tell me what they would like to have that happen. I think one thing I'm just curious about is some of these teams that do very physical training camps tend to have like healthier seasons. Like the Chiefs always have a super physical training camp and they're relatively healthy every year. The Lions were extremely unhealthy last year, but the year prior they were very healthy and they have a very physical training camp. So I don't know, injuries, there's a ton of stuff. Somebody like Najee missing the entirety of training camp and then 4 weeks later popping his Achilles. Yeah. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Maybe, but I'm not a doctor, so injuries are a lot of everything. It's tough to pin it down on one specific thing.
Yeah, I don't know with Najee because, I mean, honestly, we were so surprised that he started playing as often as he was.
Yeah,
I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't know if them starting a week earlier this year had anything to do with it. So who knows?
True.
But yeah, it's whatever it is, it's got to be fixed. Whatever data they are gathering, please pivot to something else.
Yeah. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man comes back and says, I wouldn't trust this O-line to block Helen Keller. Yikes.
Yeah, man, I heard she threw a nasty cross chop back in the day. So better pass rusher than Bud Dupree still.
Tough.
Hey, she's great on she's great.
You sure want to keep going with that one?
She's great with signaling when there's lots of crowd noise, I'll tell you that.
That's so bad. It's so bad.
She knows the silent count.
There you go. That's where I thought you were going, not the signaling one. Oh man. Danny Fan says we'll win on Sunday. Great. I love the energy. I hope you're correct. I think I feel the same, but it's not going to look pretty. Athir says that he loves my coach. This is all on him. I trust him. I'm not happy, but we have him for a reason. I believe in my coach. Let's go, baby. Bolts win.
Heck yeah. All right. That I can get behind, Athir. That I can totally get behind. 100%.
Yeah. You hire Jim Harbaugh for a reason. Let's get Jim Harbaugh in here. Did somebody say something in the chat?
Just that all the blind and deaf people watching are mad.
There you go. Good job. Danny says that he'll pledge $50 for every win. Well, hey man, I hope there's a lot of
here we go.
Super chats coming in here over the next few weeks.
Okay, so nothing against the Colts, nothing against the Yeah. Hey, I love it. $50 for every win. At that point, if you're that generous, buy a jersey for a fan or something.
Yeah. We'll take the super chats, obviously, but yeah, that's a great generosity for sure. Mr. Dark Chow Chow is Connor Lew Creed Humphrey 2.0. I probably doubt it. I have not watched him, but I thought Creed Humphrey was like a top 10 player in that draft class, and was taken 62nd or whatever it was.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Dane Brugler did say that Connor Lew has some work to do in order to convince teams that he's a first round pick. So
yeah,
he's the consensus center one, but he's not necessarily in that Creed Humphrey, Tyler Linderbaum kind of conversation from what I can gather, at least from Dane Brugler and company.
Yeah. And I'm excited for whatever small school / North Dakota State interior offensive lineman jumps into that conversation too. Every year, there's just somebody I've never heard of.
Yep.
Credence Clearwater Revival School, and they show up and he's, it's Quinn Miners or whatever.
Yeah. And Quinn Miners is like one of the best guards in the league. So
yeah,
turns out good. Nilly, is that what that says? Yeah, Nilly, hoping to turn things around against the Dolphins. Yeah, we are too. And it's been a lot of negative energy. This team needs a win in the worst way possible. So
yes,
hopefully it happens on Sunday morning.
And I'm not attending, so I don't want to hear it, guys.
Yeah, you are not making the flight down to Miami this week.
No, thank you.
Yeah, Alex is not going either. That's a quick little flight for him, but I'm not going.
Interesting. Fine.
Thomas Martinez on Connor Lew says the line around Lew is worse than the Chargers, so he's not having a great year so far. Yikes.
Oh. Well, that's not good.
Sebastian Leva, get a life, buddy. Anyways.
Yeah, that was.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's a weird chat today. It was a weird chat today, but it's all good. Tyler, any final thoughts before we head out?
Nope, no final thoughts. As someone pointed out, I just did sign language for someone that was blind, so that's kind of where I'm at. So see you later, guys. I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
There you go. All right, that is going to do it for us. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully we will be back here on Sunday after a win, and we can boost the energy levels a little bit for the fan base after a much needed win. So as always, make sure to leave a rating, review, comment, like all that stuff. Does genuinely help continue to grow our show, and we appreciate you so much for supporting our show. All right, that's it. As always, bolt up.